Hello and welcome to my interview with Parrot People in celebration of the launch of my latest picture book, Chloe the Unfeathered Parrot, which was released on June 18th. Today's guest is Lindsay from the Parrot Sanctuary. Lindsay, welcome. Now, tell us a bit about yourself and your background with parrots, as well as your role at the Parrot Sanctuary.
For sure. So I actually got my start with loving birds when I was about 4 years old. My mother came home from work late one evening and found a budgie, and this was in early March in Ontario, so it's not particularly warm.
Mhm.
And she found this little budgie, was huddled up on the front door sill, just where there's a tiny draft of warm air coming.
Mm.
He lost all his toes to frostbite. So she brought him inside because, of course, what else could you do? And she put him, for want of a better place, in the china cabinet
Mhm.
with a teacup of water and a teacup of breadcrumbs and whatever else she could find.
All
And
right.
he was there for about 24 hours, and we got him all set up. And he was just the most wonderful character. For many, many happy years after that with us. He was just a precious addition to our family. And I was smitten with birds sort of ever since then. Um, and, had other birds growing up. Took a little break when I was in school. I studied zoology, so have some background in animal care and things like that. And have just always loved them. Loved their intelligence, their thoughtfulness, their creativity, their companionship. And just coming up, I think about a year ago now, I reconnected with Marie Elizabeth from the Parrot Sanctuary, and she was looking for a little bit of help. So it's kind of grown from there.
Mhm.
I'm what we call the aviary operations manager. It's a big title, but really it just means that I am there every day. So providing like day-to-day care for the birds. Some of that it's really straightforward, cleaning, feeding, that kind of stuff. And then things like making toys, making sure that they're engaged, they're busy, moving some around if they're not getting along with their neighbors, socialization. We have lots of lovely volunteers who come in and help. So that's fantastic. We're very grateful to all of those people. And that's sort of what I do, in the day-to-day aspect of the sanctuary.
Okay. Well, so how did you come across the Parrot Sanctuary? How did you meet Marie Elizabeth and so
So
forth?
Marie and Elizabeth and I met quite a number of years ago now. He's actually working in a local pet store, and she used to buy supplies for her sanctuary there. And we kind of got to chatting over a mutual love of parrots and birds, and have stayed in touch, as acquaintances over many years. And as said, just about a year ago, give or take, she had mentioned on Facebook that the sanctuary was looking for a little bit of help. And I'd always been really interested in maybe being a bit more involved with the Parrot Sanctuary because she's been doing this for many, many years.
Yes.
But previous, obviously, to COVID and everything that was going on, I was working on a farm, and so didn't unfortunately have a lot of extra time with the commute, and farm work is pretty intense.
Mhm.
But things had changed for me, and so when she had reached out, I sent her a message and said, I'd love to come and help out. And it's just kind of blossomed from there. She's a wonderful person to work with, and we have a wonderful group of birds that I'm happy to get to spend my days with, and a wonderful group of volunteers. So it's just, it's been a great opportunity for me.
So, can you tell me a bit about maybe some of your favorite types of parrots?
That's a really tough one. I have to say, because of Patrick, this little budgie that, we rescued so many years ago, I have a very soft spot in my heart for the budgies. I think, they're small, they're ubiquitous, you see them in pet stores, see them everywhere. And I think a lot of people don't give them enough credit for how smart they are, how just gregarious and fantastic little creatures they are. So I have a real soft spot in my heart for them. The African greys are always wonderful, just with their intelligence and their ability to learn, to use their words in context, to remember what happened when you said something, and then if you do that again, to sometimes repeat. So there's a bird at the sanctuary called Quincy, and she has learned to use the phrase, "oh, sorry," very correctly, in the sense that if you bump into something, it's just kind of second nature to say, "oh, sorry," even if it's a wall or you just trip over your own feet. And so if she sees you do that, she'll often preemptively apologize for you, which I think is precious. We don't want to encourage that too much, because we obviously don't want her to be feeling sorry all the time, but she definitely gets the concept that if you tap into someone, you apologize. So
yes.
They're absolutely wonderful. But I think in general, sometimes it's about the individual bird, not necessarily the species. Sometimes you find some that you really connect with. There are birds at the sanctuary that, have really bonded with me. They want to spend a lot of time with me. And then there are other birds that, are kind of a little take it or leave it, but, they may really gravitate towards a particular volunteer or, somebody else that comes and visits regularly. So, just like us, they have their likes and dislikes, and you can't always account for who is your friend. Sometimes it's just the way it works out.
Right. What is it? Now, this is something I've asked most of the people I've been interviewing, and Parrot People. What is it you wish more people knew about the privilege and commitment of adopting and living with a parrot?
So much. I mean, that's so many things. For me, I think there's two really big ones. One is just how much of a lifetime commitment it is, because of their long life, because of their fairly, complex maintenance needs, just in terms of keeping them happy and healthy. It's harder to find a vet. It's harder to find a good diet. That all just takes a lot more energy. If you have a dog, there's tons of wonderful veterinarians just around the corner, tons of great diets formulated, so many options. But it's a little bit harder with, a species that just isn't so domesticated, and they really haven't been living with people for that long in the same way that dogs and cats have. And so, credit to all the people out there making great strides in terms of exotic care and husbandry. But we've still got a long way to go. And so, it's not a reason not to have a companion parrot in your life, but it is just something I think people need to consider. Are they able to think about 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years? If you're maybe thinking about adopting a baby, maybe even 65 years. So are you planning, if you're an older person, are you planning for that? And I think that's one of the wonderful things about having a facility that can match different people, different birds. And for a lot of people, an older bird is the right choice, because you can enjoy your golden years together. Birds that often really need homes, and so I think that works out really positively for people if they're willing to put that effort in. I think the second thing that I often think about is that you hear so much about people saying, "oh, the bird has the intelligence of a toddler or a young child." And very, very true in terms of their ability to grasp concepts, learn words, solve puzzles. But a lot of the time people forget that the bird isn't actually a toddler, in the sense that they will go through puberty and they will be adults. And so it's important not to infantilize them. It's important to allow them to make choices. When you treat them as babies their whole life, they're missing out on a lot. And I think that people are missing out on a lot, because, you can form a really different kind of friendship and bond when you start to think about your companion bird as an equal, as opposed to, this is this tiny little baby creature that, I just have to protect and coddle. Obviously you have to protect and care for them and meet all their needs, but the idea of some autonomy, the ability to make choices, sometimes even the ability to struggle a little bit, if it's like they want to get from one place to another to get a treat or a favorite toy. And a lot of people, when they see the birds, like, well, I'm not sure how to get there. I don't know. Can I fly? Should I climb? People rush in and want to help them. And that, I mean, it's a wonderful sentiment, but sometimes it's good to let them figure it out on their own, because they have a sense of achievement, and then that's something you can celebrate together. So I think it's something that people, can consider, that, the chance for their companions to make choices about their own lives.
Very cool. Okay. Some things people definitely wouldn't be thinking about necessarily, particularly the they're not a baby forever thing, because I think sometimes certain dogs and cats are fairly content to let you baby them. In fact, will manipulate you into such things, depending on the individual, of course, because I can also grasp the concept that other animals might enjoy learning and growing as well. So the other question I've been asking a lot is, what makes an ideal forever home and parrot adopter, generally speaking?
I think time is a big one, and commitment. So, we all have different living situations, and you never want to say that somebody would be not a good home because, of their specifics. But if people are willing to put the effort in, sometimes that means making some changes in your lifestyle or in your home, whether it's getting rid of Teflon products or not using scented candles. I mean, those are just some really simple, obvious examples. But sometimes it might be, changing your schedule a little bit. So in the sense that, you have a bit of a routine with your bird. So in that way, it's not that different than, adopting a dog or cat or rabbit or, any other animal. But for sure, people who have time to spend, it is tough on a flock animal that doesn't tend to sleep that much during the day to be alone, for 10 or 12 hours, basically all the hours that the sun is up. The mammals tend to be a bit more flexible in terms of their waking and sleeping schedule. And so they adapt a bit better to the way humans do things. And so people who can either make space in their home, maybe for more than one bird, so that if you can't be there, then your bird has company, or, who have the ability to be home a fair bit, I think makes a really ideal home. That being said, we all have to work. And so just because people have a full-time job doesn't mean that it isn't possible. But then it's great to see that people, make accommodations on the weekends or in the evenings, however they make that their life fit around their parents' needs. I think that's the most important thing, is like a willingness to make your life and your bird's life work in a way that's kind of harmonious for everybody, rather than expecting them to just, fit into our human schedule, which sometimes can be challenging. Mostly just thank you very much for doing this. Thanks for taking the time to speak to all of us. Thank you for, writing the book about Chloe. It's, she had kind of a tougher start, but a very, very happy ending, which ultimately is the important thing.
Yes.
And just for getting the word out that, what wonderful, engaging creatures they are, and that there are options for people. You don't have to run to the pet store, that you can both have, share your life with a bird and maybe, provide a really good life for a bird in need. That's a great message for you to have shared. So thank you.
Yes. And thank you for sharing all this information. And it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.